Good day everyone, my name is Samuel Albert. Today I'm going to be talking about valency and ions. I know most of you will be wondering, how do chemicals react? Now, the basis of this information will give you a quick answer to that. For a start, let's talk about this. You have wondered how HCl, which is an acid, reacts with a base, which is sodium hydroxide. This is hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide. You must have seen this as a secondary school student on how do these things really react. But today I'm going to tell you about the mechanism at which it reacts. Number one, we all know that unlike charges attract and like charges repel. That is true. The same thing applies to chemistry. If you look at this, we have subsequent element, which is hydrogen and chlorine. Hydrogen is positively charged with +1, chlorine is negatively charged with -1, sodium is positively charged with +1, and hydroxide ion is negatively charged with what? -1. Now, today's class, I will be teaching you on how we assign these numbers to the first 20 elements according to the elementary level. So, in our teachings, we will be dealing with the first 20 elements. So, looking at this, now, hydrogen will react with the opposite charge, which is water, while sodium will react with the negative charge, which is chlorine. Now, you will see that, looking at this mechanism, we have NaCl plus H2O. Now, reaction between acid and base always give us salt and water. It is obvious. Looking at this, you notice that unlike charges attract. Now, this reaction is what we call neutralization reaction. Neutralization reaction is the reaction which involves the combination of acid and base to give us salt and water. As a matter of fact, this is the table salt which you use in your house. Now, in today's class, we'll be talking about ions. What are ions? Ions are charges which atoms possess. Every atom you see, every atom you know of have a charge. It's either they are positively charged or they are negatively charged. An atom that is positively charged are called electron acceptors. They are called electron acceptors. While electrons that are negatively charged are called electron receivers. So we call them electron receivers or electron recipients. We call them recipients because all they do is to accept electrons from other atoms. Why do they do this? All atoms want to achieve what we call octet configuration. Octet configuration means they want to have a complete outermost shell. If you don't understand what I'm saying, let me give you an example. Let's talk about helium, for example. Helium has 2 atoms. So the maximum number of shells, the maximum number of electrons the first shell can have is 2. Now, looking at this, no more electrons can be accepted to this shell because it has obtained what we call duplet configuration. We call this duplet configuration. Now, so all atoms either want to achieve a duplet configuration, which is the first, or if the number of atoms is more than 2, they want to achieve what we call an octet configuration. So as a science inclined person, you should know when you hear the word oct, what should come to your mind is 8. When you hear the word dupe, what should come to your mind is 2. Now, so take this home. Atoms want to achieve 2 things. It's either they want to achieve duplet configuration if the number of atoms is 2 or less, or they want to achieve octet configuration if the number of atoms is more than 2. So now the question is, how do we assign charge to the first 20 elements? I will teach you this today, and you do the rest at home. Now, the number one, let's talk about hydrogen. You remember in the example that I made, I told you that hydrogen has +1 charge. How? I will show you today. Now, there's an old way of assigning charges to elements. Now, the first shell, remember, the first shell can carry a maximum number of what? 2 electrons. Hydrogen, according to what we know, has 1 atom. So this is the number of electrons the hydrogen atom has. Now looking at this, hydrogen is willing to donate this single electron that it has. And I told you that if it is donating, we call them electron donors. So if hydrogen is an electron donor, it will carry what? A positive charge. So mind you, looking at this, hydrogen has what? A positive charge. Where is the positive charge coming from? The positive charge is coming from what? The single electron it has on the outermost shell. Now, let me tell you this. The number of atoms present in the last shell is what determines the charge the atom will have. Now, so hydrogen has just 1 in the last shell, so the number of charge it will have is 1. If it has 2, the number of charge it will have is what? 2 plus. Now, number 2 thing you must know today is that what determines combination in chemical reaction is what we call the valence electron. Now, the valence electron is the electron that is only present in the outermost shell. So, for example, if you have chlorine, which the maximum you can have in the inner shell is 2, mind you, the next one is going to be 8. It's going to be 8, making a total of what? 10. The next one is going to be 7. It's going to be 7. Now looking at this is chlorine. This is chlorine atom. Now looking at this, I told you that elements want to achieve a stable condition, which is called octet configuration. They want to be complete. Now looking at this, if you count the number of electrons we have on the outermost shell, it is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what happens? Chlorine as an atom needs 1 more electron to be stable, to be complete. That is why we say chlorine has -1 charge. Now looking at the equation written above, you will notice that chlorine has -1 charge. I hope you now understand where this charge is coming from. So looking at this, is either atoms choose to donate electrons in order for them to be complete, or they choose to receive electrons in order for them to be complete. Let us take an example of sodium, for example. So we all know sodium has 11 atoms. So remember, the first shell will take a total of 2 atoms. The next shell can accommodate a total of 8 atoms. 8 atoms. While the last shell, looking at this, we have 10 already. The last shell will take a total of just 1. Just 1. Now looking at this, at this point, sodium was complete until it had an extra 1 electron. So what sodium is willing to do now, in order for sodium to be stable, is to donate this 1 to any atom that is willing to receive 1. That is why you will see the reaction between sodium and hydroxide ion is very smooth. Why? Because hydroxide ion needs 1 to be complete. Sodium ion needs 1 to be complete. So they need to donate 1 to be complete. So looking at this, the moment sodium donates 1 to hydroxide ion, hydroxide becomes complete. Sodium too becomes stable. So looking at this, today's task will now be how do we assign to the first 20 elements. So in today's class, I'll quickly assign for the first 3 elements while you will do the rest. Atomic number, elements, and valency. So the first atomic number we're dealing with is 1, which is hydrogen. So looking at the system that we've been using, hydrogen is ready, has just 1 atom. So it's willing to donate 1. So it's going to be +1. How do we assign plus? Anytime we have electron donors, they are giving out electrons, it's always plus. If they are receiving, it is minus. It's simple. So the next one is helium. Helium is +2. Why? Because we have 2 electrons. So it's giving out 2 electrons in order to be stable. Now the next one is, so the next element is lithium. We all know lithium has 3 electrons. So the first shell will be 2, the next shell will be 1. So looking at this, it's obvious that lithium is willing to donate a single electron, so it will take a positive charge. Don't forget, I told you that electron donors are positively charged while electron recipients are negatively charged. Now looking at this, so I would love you to do for the first 10 elements and assign their charges with this. If you have any questions, you should put it